Do you remember when I asked you to tell me a story? A true story.
So if you had to join the movement, which side would you choose?
I don't want to choose.
Why do I have to fight it all?
War is coming.
I'm Captain Cadian. Do you know why I've been sent here? To the line of control. My job is stopping the boys going from this side of the line to the other side. If we could stop that, then this entire conflict would simply go away.
We're looking for our friend Hussein. He disappeared.
Many boys disappear these days. Where were you?
I was looking for Hussein.
You fool! You put us all at risk!
I've got a job for you.
What kind of job? You know what they made me do?
I would rather you pick up the ID from the dead than become one of them.
Asma!
Young men laying their lives down for freedom in thousands, and look at you,
Papa!
whining about your brave friends who have gone to fight.
What did they give up their dreams for?
Remember me in your prayers.
What are they dying for?
Hey, welcome to Blastzone Mike's FireRock TV show. And today I have two ladies who just put together a movie that's coming out. And would you both, Cristy, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Cristy Beasley, and I'm the producer of the feature film The Collaborator. Along here with...
And I'm her work wife, Rashaana. We produce all our content together, and this is our second film together. It's a book adaptation of the novel by the same name, The Collaborator.
Great, great. So, Cristy, I guess I'll start with you. What made you decide to get into the business of movies?
Oh, I have been fascinated with entertainment from a very young age. I grew up dancing and singing and acting, and I decided to take it seriously after college.
What about yourself, ma'am?
I think ever since I turned on the TV in my life, I've just been so fascinated by the idiot box and going to movies. I would see as a child 5 films a week. I was in the theater every day. So it's just been a very natural progression for me.
What kind of movie were you did you like? I mean, were you into horror movies, dramas, comedies? What was it?
I grew up in a very small town in central India, and we literally had no other means of entertainment except watching movies. There's literally no art, no scenes, there's no theater, there's no, art galleries, there are no sports. There was Bollywood and there was cricket. And, I saw everything. I grew up on Asian cinema, on Korean cinema, on Japanese, a lot of Iranian cinema. So for me, real stories about people from, the streets and their lives affected me the most. And that's the kind of films I'd like to make.
What about you, Cristy?
I mean, a little bit like Rashaana, I was a cinephile and a film junkie from a young age. That's what I would do when I would babysit, which I babysat a lot. I had a lot of younger cousins, and when they would go to bed, I would watch all the old classics. And Turner Classic Movies was a real education for me all growing up. So I liked all the old film stars. That I really know them almost better than current film stars. But yeah, so those are the kind of movies. I just like films with messages, with positive messages. And I just feel that there's enough horror in the world, and the world is sad enough. We don't need to put more sadness into it. So I like hopeful films with a positive message to take away.
Why do you think that as Americans, we're so obsessed with the horror genre. You know, like just recently, Terrifier 3 become the first independent movie to ever be number one at the box office with a not rating at that for that matter.
I mean, I think that there's so much horror in the world. It's just a reflection of society, you know, and it's what you choose to focus on. I mean, it's not really an escape anymore. I feel like it's a echo.
I mean, you know, like I just said Terrifier 3 was number one, but I just went and seen Wicked and it was number one. It's like in America, people like what they like. You know, it's not like overseas where, you know, in India or Germany or wherever that people just love entertainment. Does that make sense?
Um, no, I feel like you know every country I've been to, they certainly love cinema and films. I mean, Germany, Marlena Dietrich is from there. You know that was a big you know part of the both sides war strategy was putting out films, and even currently, you know, films are the gateway to culture and society for the messaging for many governments around the world. Um, and that's why it's so important to have these artists with a voice putting out messages, you know, because we need the truth out there, not just propaganda films.
I think
There's a lot
horror.
of propaganda. There's a lot of propaganda. You're right.
I think horror is now kind of elevated to psycho thrillers, and thrillers have always done well, especially with the younger crowd. And you know, within the thriller genre, you can repackage the stories in million ways. It's a easy genre, I think. It's and it has a repeat audience. I also think in America, you know, real stories, romance, original romance, romantic genre, or comedy has kind of taken a, I don't know why, it's taken a back step.
I can see that. I can
Wicked
see
is
that.
something else, though. I mean, Wicked is genius. Is a genius book. It was a genius Broadway play, and the film is unbelievable.
I'm here to tell you, I went and seen it the day it came out on Friday, and we went to the 9:45 showing of it on 3D. And I've got 10,000 movies in my collection, and I got to tell you, it's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
I
wow.
came into it going, "Oh, I'm just going to watch this for my wife," and I don't want to hear all this singing. It's just going to drive me insane. But then 2 hours and 40 minutes later, you're like, "Oh, there's a second part." Oh God, I gotta do. I thought it was gonna be all one, you know. And I'm walking out of the theater to my wife. I'm like, okay, so part two is gonna set up how she becomes a wicked witch. I think part three is gonna be a new retelling of the Wizard of Oz. I told her, and she's
Wow.
like, and the words out of her mouth shocked me. She said, "Oh, that would be nice." I'm like, this woman has Wizard of Oz on VHS, Wizard of Oz on DVD, Blu-ray. We just bought the 4K, and she's like, oh, that'd be nice to have a new retelling. I'm like, huh? Okay, I guess. I thought she was gonna like fight with me about it or something, you know. But
What's
it's a
your
beautiful
favorite genre?
movie. Um,
What's
I
your favorite?
like my favorite movie of all time, Star Wars, the very first original Star Wars. I mean, you know, to me, George Lucas was way ahead of his time when he put out Star Wars, you know, it and look what it's done. I mean, Disney bought it for billions of dollars, you know, so it's got to be the greatest film, if not the best film of all time, for that simple reason that generation after generation, it's like music. You know, I got a son that's 25 and he plays Grand Theft Auto. Well, he plays all this music. And one day he comes in my room and he says, you know, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't known all this music.
Mhm.
And his favorite bands are Guns N' Roses and the Beatles and all these bands, but we generate, generation after generation, like the Wizard of Oz. This is the 85th year of the Wizard of Oz, and it still gets played every year. I mean, that's what lasting power for a movie is. Like the Christmas Story, you'll shoot your eye out. That movie didn't do nothing when it first came out, but now it's played for 24 hours during Christmas. I mean, that's the kind of staying power I think movies are. And that brings me to my next question. So you said this is your second film together. What brought you two together?
Well, we met on the set of our first film, which American Warrior, which just had its Asian premiere at Ifigoa, and that was a lot of fun. That's why we're so tired today. We're back from India. So when we started, working together on set, we just realized we had a very easy shorthand and could had complementary skill sets, and it was just such a natural working relationship. It was really refreshing and lovely, especially when you're working on a very difficult film to get made. And if one thing in there is easy, that it really stands out. So it was easy to work with Rashaana, and I thought, I don't ever want to make a movie in my life without her. So we immediately, before we even finished that film, we found this film, and she brought me on board. She had been working on it for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And so we decided this was the one, and we plugged ahead, and sure enough, I mean, listen, if Rashaana says it, she gets it done. And so the next thing I know, I'm on set in the Republic of Georgia. She can drag me into very crazy things.
I think a lot of people say women don't work well together. Don't put them in the same room. We proved them wrong. Absolutely. I don't know. I don't understand why they say women don't work together. I think they work very well together. You just have to find the right people, like-minded people. And between Cristy and me, with Cristy, there are two great things. One, she's a cinephile. She knows everybody and everything in the movie industry. You just name the year, name the movie. She knows who the agents are, who they're married to, how many times they're divorced, how many kids they have, what films have they done, what awards they have won. So I'm like, okay, that's great. I don't have to. She's an walking IMDb. And then the second thing for me was she's very dependable. If she says something, she gets it done. I never have to second guess her. I never have to worry if things would get done or not. And she kicks asses. So my God, I love it.
What's your first movie about, and where can people see it? Is it out now or is it not out?
Both the films are doing festival circuit. Our two films have gone to about 20 festivals so far internationally. We've had US premieres, we've had Asia premieres. The first film is set in the MMA world. It's a redemption story of a 45-year-old immigrant. And the second film, The Collaborator, is based on true events. It's a book adaptation set on a border conflict zone. It's a dialogue between a 19-year-old boy. When war comes knocking on his door, he's confused. Whose war is it? Should I join the war? Should I pick up the gun? And who am I going to kill? What is the destiny of me picking up the gun? And is there any right side to the war?
Wow. And so neither one of these are out yet.
No, you can see the Collaborator next week at Dances with Films. We're having a show on December 6th at 7:30. Is it 7 or 7:30?
7:30.
7:30 p.m. At the Union Square Regal Cinema.
So are you still trying to, both of these movies, get distribution for them, or what is your plans for both movies, per se?
We've had good luck organically with the film playing in different parts of the world, and has generated enough interest from distributors locally. So yeah, we have a sales company on board on American Warrior, and the Collaborator has just started its festival run. Coincidentally, this weekend, from Friday 6th, December 6th to December 15th, the film is playing in 4 countries, in 4 festivals, including Israel and Jordan and New York and LA. So we are very proud of the film being accepted so universally. It's talking to people. About 14% of the world's population lives in border conflict zones, and specifically, I think in a lot of first world countries, we read news, but you're very alien to the idea of being in a war zone, the idea of not knowing. There are, in certain places like Kashmir, which is where the film is set, there's a 7 decade of border conflict. When the child leaves home, the mother doesn't know if the child is going to come back that evening. When the child leaves home, the mother kisses the child on the forehead and says, wherever you go, wherever you are, may God bless you. And she hopes that her child will come back that evening. I think those are the sentiments, the hardships of families, of loss of their dreams and friendship and love, is what we wanted to explore in the movie.
Wow, wow. And do you feel like doing more independent cinema is harder than, say, a if you had a major budget to do something?
Yes. This is the hardest thing you can do.
It's a lot of work. You do everything together. Think about it like building a house. You are laying the bricks. You're the carpenter. You're the purchaser. You're doing the proofing. You're painting. You're building the furniture. You're going to the forest chopping wood to build the furniture. It's that much work.
So what drives you all to be able to do it then? If
We
it's
must
so much if it's so much work and such a workload for you, what drives you to put out beautiful films like you're talking about?
we must be crazy.
Passion.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's
That's funny.
a obsessive compassion
Yeah,
compulsion.
I agree with her. I agree with Christy. It's a very obsessive. It's like you don't know how else to be or to live.
Yeah, there's no other way to. You have to focus all of your whole life on this.
I was seeing the Tom Hanks show. I was rewatching it, From Earth to the Moon, and you wonder why these astronauts did what they did back then. I mean, going to space, we didn't even have proper. They didn't know what was happening. I think it's that kind of craziness when you do what we're doing.
It's entertainment's a wild idea. I mean, me even being my age and seeing all the stuff that's came and all the stuff that's coming, like during the pandemic, uh, the movie industry figured out a different way to give movies to people. They figured out, hey, we don't have to put movies in theaters. We can put them on our TV apps, and we can put them, we can charge people $20 when it's at the theater. Like I can watch Wicked now for like $30 on my TV. You know, it's it's evolving so much that and during the pandemic years, I guess you want to call it that, when you were walked into a Walmart, there was nothing but independent cinema because no major studios was doing movies. So, do you feel that gives you a leg up when it comes to independent cinema at times, or is it still just as hard?
First of all, when you say at your age, you have a 10-year-old child's heart. I can see it. You're a fun person. I don't think people like you don't have an age factor, and I think it's better. I think the studios. I know Christy says it's very hard to make independent cinema compared to studio films, but believe me, studio films are failing because there are too many cooks in the kitchen, and they're victim of formula. They're victim of being in the box. So if you really want to make heartwarming, great, amazing. You want to tell interesting, unique stories. You have to be an independent producer. Cristy, what do you think?
Yes, you said something that I wanted to go back to, and now I'm blanking on it at the beginning of that, but I'll just come back to me. But yes, I agree.
Well, everybody says, you're exactly right because, Disney's flopped so many times, and Deadpool is being called the Disney Jesus because the new Deadpool movies made more money than the last four movies together have for Disney. So I get what you're saying. I mean, it's like looking at a movie poster, okay? And every movie poster has the same frame up, if that makes sense. It's always the same. It just looks the same.
It's
Everything's
very
the same.
formulaic. Yes.
Yeah, it's all the
There
same.
are two characters, and then there's this title here, and those characters keep changing with a little bit of light design behind them.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
studios have a different God. They're publicly traded companies, and they answer to their shareholders, and that's immediately puts them in a completely different category of storytelling because they are really beholden to their shareholders. They don't have the liberties and the freedoms that independent filmmakers have, and that's why it's so necessary for us to both exist.
The risk factor is it's zero with studio system, although they have all the money, but I think we have more balls.
We have to because they have to. The bottom dollar is their bottom line, and that's not the motivation normally for independent films. Our motivation is to tell epic, important stories that otherwise you would not hear. And personally, Rashaana and I try to amplify voices, diverse voices in both of these films' cases, and maybe even a niche audience here and there. But we're also supporting new faces in cinema that often studios don't get the opportunity even to promote and support. I mean, we're putting people in lead roles that are, that otherwise would not have these opportunities. We have elevated 2 first-time directors. We found a wonderful director in Travis Hodgkins with the Collaborator. He adapted the story from the novel, and he put it so beautifully on the page for the screenplay. I said, please don't change a word. We almost had a fight during the production when he kept trying to improve scenes. And I was like, stop changing. I don't want an A and or the to be moved. Don't move it. It's perfect. No, he's just incredibly talented.
And and between the two of us, we're such a good team. We finished these 2 films in 18 months, both.
Wow.
No, but it's difficult. I mean, in 2 years to get 2 films out to 20 festivals.
And during a strike.
Yeah, and during the SAG strike.
Right after the pandemic.
Yeah, and we have 2 male directors that we have empowered and supported, first time feature film directors. So I think it's not just the liberty of doing that, but it is the intelligence of adding to the narratives in the cinema. It enriches the stories that we're telling. Independent.
I wish studios would listen more to the people that watch the movies. I go back to Star Wars, and it started out good with Disney, with the Mandalorian, and then it just slowly went. The Acolyte it had the worst scores of any TV show in the history of TV.
I'm very aware of that too. I mean, Disney is very aware of that. They're scaling back. They've already delayed upcoming projects based on those properties. They know they oversaturated the market. I think Marvel's realizing the same thing, and DC Comics even as well. So I think hopefully there's obviously the industry is undergoing a huge market correction and complete disruption of traditional streaming sources and ways of seeing, distribution. So I mean, that's what kind of makes it exciting for people like us right now. We have new options that were not available even 6 months ago to us, and we are exploring those. But it's always going to be a balance, because I think at the end of the day, I know what I wanted to say earlier. Like, people are always going to be needing entertainment and content, and there, it doesn't matter what is being disrupted or how the distribution is changing. Like, we're going to be telling stories. That's human nature. Well, and it will continue. So it's just a matter of finding the best way for everyone forward.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people in the world, can't make everybody happy.
But there are enough people, and the AI and technology has really helped us identify demographics, spend your marketing dollar correctly towards the demographic for your film. So if you kind of work your metrics backwards, you should be able to recover money. Any film. Of course, you have to make a good film. That's the bottom line. But then you can take it to the right audience with the modern means of technology and distribution.
Do you think people are recovering on their movies and TV shows?
100%.
Yeah.
Even in independent cinema?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Every film has a box office value. Make your movie for $1 less than that box office value. How intelligently you assess the box office value of your film, like your home, you're living in your house, right? The value of that real estate is, let's say, $1 million, but you've spent 2 million in furniture and doing it up. Now you're expecting the market to pay you 3 million back. So if you overspend on a film, you are going to lose money. Then that's difficult. But if you assess your movie correctly, and which is what we do, we have a mini fund. We work with Women in Cloud. It's a set of women investors from around the world, tech women investors from around the world. When we pitch them our films, we talk about ROIs, we talk about how we're going to recover the money, what our demographics is. So we've kind of have a 360-degree strategy implemented even before we spend our first dollar.
Well, the next question is, what do you think about physical media?
What do you mean?
DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. What do you think about that?
I think for someone like you that you've clearly got a huge collection and that's something you're interested in keeping, then I think that's great. But I mean, it's something that, is it going to last 200 years? Probably not. I mean, you'll probably need to put it in a different format, one we can't even conceive of. I personally am just trying to get rid of all things in my house. I would like to be so organized and so successful that I own nothing. That is what I'm going for. So I'm not interested in collecting more hard.
Well, I'm talking about your films as far as physical media. Not you as collecting, but your films in physical media, because I know it's such a digital world we live in. But, even Alien Romulus just came out on VHS. A major studio just put out a VHS in stores for the first time in 17 years. Now, it cost $75 for that VHS, but my point is, more and more physical product is starting to sprout up again. The VHS industry is huge right now. The vinyl industry is huge right now. So, I mean, for you as two people who made 2 movies, is physical distribution a thing that you're looking for, or are you all more just on a digital sense of things?
I think there are certain genres that do well on physical media. Not every genre does well on physical media, even in today's day and time. So it depends on the kind of film you have made. But, explore every form of distribution available. Of course, we will. Would our films? It's also something like, you buy coffee table books, certain kinds, and and you want to pass it on to generation. That's how I feel about physical media, about movies. It's the kind it's a collectible item. You want to pass it on to your kids and then their kids, but it's not for every film.
I mean, we want the most people to see the film as possible in whatever form that takes, and how attractive that opportunity is to us. That will be the determination.
I mean, we made I remember I produced a Christmas movie pre-COVID And the physical media was a very important part of it, because Walmart stock, 60% of Walmart stock is Christmas movies. So some genres do very well.
I mean, I have friends that do movies, independent film. And now, they say it's easier than ever because you have apps that you can go to, like Tubi or Netflix or Hulu or Freevee, or I mean, there's hundreds of them now, and it's easier to get your films into those type of things. But I work in the music industry. I work for a record label, and I'm the head of the A&R department. And I know for a fact that digital music doesn't make any money. So it's like, in a way, if you do something digitally like Tubi or something, it seemed like to me that you'd be giving away your product, kind of like a musician giving away their music when they do digital.
I
Is
don't
that the
feel.
correct sense or
I,
not?
I think once we've made the film, I feel a little bit more like go run with it. Everybody should embrace it. I'm not so attached emotionally. Distribution, whatever form of distribution would work, we'd make it work. But if you can figure out a way of disrupting the distribution market through the physical media, I mean, kudos to those people, and we would definitely embrace it.
That's great. Ladies, it's been nice talking to you today. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
Watch our movies. Watch independent cinema. Support us.
Yeah, please. And Dances with Films, December 6th at 7:30 p.m. See you in New York.
You want this